Welcome, executives, to today's Explainer. Look, we're skipping the fluff today because China's labor market has just undergone a fundamental structural shift, and it directly impacts your bottom line. If you're operating, hiring, or forecasting in the region, the talent landscape you knew a year ago, it's completely gone. Today, we're breaking down the critical data from China Gateway 360 to understand exactly what's happening with engineering compensation and, way more importantly, what you actually need to do about it.
Okay, let's dive into this. For over a decade, if you looked at new graduate salary rankings in China, software engineering and computer science held the undisputed top spots, right? Well, not anymore. For the first time, hard engineering disciplines, we're talking microelectronics, robotics, new materials, and optoelectronics, have officially dethroned software. The talent market has literally inverted. So if you're running R&D centers, manufacturing operations, or technical support in China, your compensation benchmarks need an immediate reality check.
To put this structural shift into perspective for a second, 40%. That is how much entry-level salaries for top microelectronics graduates have surged in just 3 short years. We aren't talking about slow, gradual inflation here. We're looking at a highly concentrated, aggressive spike in the cost of talent for specific physical engineering disciplines. This is a massive market signal, telling us exactly where the smartest graduates are placing their bets.
Section 1. Policy and Capital Drivers. So China's manufacturing sector added value reached a staggering 34.67 trillion RMB. That's about 4.85 trillion US dollars in 2025. Now that accounts for roughly 25% of the country's entire GDP. But here's the really critical business intelligence for you. This growth is incredibly uneven. Advanced manufacturing segments, like semiconductors, robotics, and high-end equipment, they're expanding at double-digit rates. Meanwhile, traditional manufacturing segments are facing severe margin compression. Essentially, capital is just flooding into the high-tech physical space.
And this brilliantly illustrates how recent state council initiatives, things like mandates for intelligent computing, carbon peaking, and national health upgrades, aren't just gentle market nudges, they are massive procurement contracts directly manufacturing immense demand for AI, energy, and medical device engineers. The policy environment is aggressively reinforcing this wage trend right from the top.
And well, the private sector is pretty much pouring gasoline on this fire. Take the Chinese startup X-Square Robot, for example. They just hit a post-investment valuation of 20 billion yuan, or 2.8 billion US dollars. And they're part of a whole cohort of AI-driven robotics firms landing multi-billion yuan funding rounds. So, if you're a foreign manufacturer in China, you aren't just competing against other foreign firms for mechanical and electrical engineers anymore. You are going head-to-head against heavily funded domestic startups armed with Silicon Valley-scale venture capital. And let me tell you, they are aggressively poaching top talent.
Let's move to Section 2, the semiconductor talent crunch, and see how this builds from those macro drivers into the specific pinch points impacting corporate payrolls right now.
Now, what's really interesting about this data is the sheer scale of the deficit, which is just staggering. China's aggressive national push for chip self-sufficiency has created an estimated shortfall of 200,000 to 300,000 semiconductor engineers. It's a massive vacuum. When demand outstrips supply by 250,000 highly specialized workers, the pricing leverage shifts entirely to the talent.
And honestly, it gets even more competitive when you drill down into specific skill sets. Graduates possessing premium, highly technical skills like tape-out experience or electronic design automation tool proficiency are basically the grand prize. These candidates are no longer just getting high base salaries, they're routinely commanding incredibly aggressive signing bonuses straight out of university. Foreign semiconductor equipment and materials companies operating in China are directly exposed to this intense cost escalation.
But, there's a flip side to this coin, and it represents a major strategic opportunity. While hard tech is facing this severe crunch, the traditional software sector, application development, enterprise IT, SaaS, has actually entered a consolidation phase. Remember, China produces over 4 million STEM graduates annually. Suddenly, the supply of software developers is abundant, and salary growth there has really moderated. It is decisively a buyer's market for software talent right now.
Section 3. Executable hiring strategies. So the crucial point is your immediate directive involves 3 steps. First, you must immediately re-benchmark your hardware compensation. If your salary bands are more than 12 months old, you're likely 15 to 25% below market for semiconductor, robotics, and materials roles. Second, exploit that software buyer's market by insourcing software development that you previously outsourced. And third, the hard tech pipeline is 4 to 7 years long. You need to build university partnerships and sponsored labs today to secure your talent pipeline for 2028 and 2030.
Next up, you need to seriously consider a dual location strategy. If you try to hire solely in Tier 1 hard tech clusters, like Shenzhen for robotics or Shanghai for semiconductors, you're going to bleed cash fighting venture capital-driven wage inflation. If your operations allow it, look outward. Cities like Nanjing, Wuhan, and Chengdu have exceptionally strong engineering universities, but significantly less wage inflation. Tap into these Tier 2 opportunities to find top-tier talent without paying that massive Tier 1 price premium.
Let's distill all of this into the absolute final financial takeaway. If you're a foreign company looking to hire a standard 10-person junior semiconductor engineering team in Shanghai today, it's going to cost your company an incremental 1.2 to 1.8 million RMB compared to your 2023 benchmarks. That is roughly 165,000 to 250,000 US dollars in completely unbudgeted additional annual payroll costs. That's the hard reality of this market shift.
Which leaves us with the most important question for you and your executive team to answer right now. Is your China HR budget actually adjusted for the hard tech reality? If you're still operating on last year's software-led assumptions, you are already falling behind the curve. It's time to realign your strategy, secure your pipelines, and prepare your budgets for the new era of hard tech. Thank you for joining this explainer, and we'll catch you next time.